freedom vote.
Yes.
What?
Mine and yours.
For what?
The addendums.
Oh.
What do you think?
I'm
Ready?
ready.
Alright. Let's call this meeting to order, our regular meeting for the month of June 2021. Please stand and join us in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, apology to everybody for being just a tad late, but we'll catch up quickly. First item this evening is a recommendation to approve the agenda. We do have a few minor addenda items this evening to add to the agenda. I would ask for a motion including the addenda.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as modified by addenda. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all members in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. Next item brings us to comments from citizens period. If anybody in the audience would like to address the board on an agenda item this evening, now would be your chance to do so. If you're interested in addressing the board, please stand and state your name for the record. Hearing and seeing no comments, we'll close citizens comments period and move to our spotlight period of tonight's meeting. Retirees, Mr. Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Ream. It's been a long time for at least one of us here this evening because we like to honor our retirees at the end of the school year, and due to the pandemic, we weren't able to do that last spring, and with everything with the pandemic this year, we weren't able to do what we normally do and have a nice lunch for them and all, but we do want to recognize our retirees now that the light at the end of the tunnel is a little bit more brighter. We had last year, 2019-20, we had 5 individuals retire: Linda Abinetti, Cheryl Crockett, Tess Byers, and Angela Earhart and Rhonda Hines. Tonight with us is Cheryl Crockett. Cheryl has been with the corporation for 42 years.
Started when she was 13.
Yeah, 12 actually.
And we were, as we all said last year, very sad to see her leave, but know that it was for all the right reasons. And we do want to acknowledge Cheryl this evening in her retirement last year. Jerry, if you'll help out for me. We have a little token of appreciation for Cheryl. Along with last year's retirees, we have this year we had 4 teachers and 3 non-cert support staff members: Jan Scully, Kathy Waldrop, Robin Vukovitz. Mary Kelsheimer retired mid-year. Also retiring were Amy Heyer, Sarah Edwards, and Janet Waldrop. Tonight we have with us Jan Scully, who has served us for 32 years.
Thanks, Jen.
Kathy Waldrop, 19 and a half years.
I knew these guys in high school.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kath.
Thank you.
And Robin Vukovitz, served 23 years.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robin.
And I know I speak for the entire administrative team, the colleagues in the classroom, as well as the board. When you look at the years of experience and these ladies here tonight, South Maine is losing some fantastic individuals and hard to replace. And Like everything else though, we do move on, but I do want to express our deepest appreciation for all that you've done. It's been an interesting time, with these retirements and with the pandemic and all that, but please know that you have been greatly, appreciated by all, students, staff, the community, and we thank you for your years of service. And I would like to offer you one final chance to address the board if you'd like.
And fill out sub-application.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're raising the sub stipend too, right?
That's right.
Not high enough.
I know. Thanks.
Anybody want to say anything?
I would just say thank you for all the opportunities I've been given. The only one suggestion I have is when teachers leave, in our case as from retirement, is take that opportunity to talk with us. We have a lot of things that we would like to share, and a lot of them are really positive things. So another avenue for you to hear about things that are going on that you might not know directly.
Sure. Thanks, Robin.
And I just want to say thank you as well, because the opportunities I got here at South Vermillion and Ernie Pilot Central allowed me to grow as an educator, and I appreciate that, and thank you so much. And if you're ever in the Port Charlotte area, I'll take you to dinner.
I was just down in that neck of the woods.
Are you ready to move down there?
There's some grandbabies that have
Yeah,
another
they
thing
do,
to say.
yeah, they do pull at the heartstrings, don't they? Yeah.
Are you saying something, Kathy? Or you go right?
Well,
I knew it was coming.
About math and reading. I just want to say thank you. I was hired back in 1978, and I had John Paul, kindergarten and first grade.
Yep.
That's what I told him. I said, I had that guy. But anyway, yeah, I got a job when they were not hiring hardly, and John Nelson hired me. Remember John Nelson? It was his retirement year, and I was very grateful for that job, and I can't say any more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But I love it up here. It's my home away from home.
All the more
Could
reason
always
to
be
come
home.
in and sub.
Not that.
I already tried that just a few minutes ago.
Thank you.
And I will say thank you also. I was forever a sub at South Vermillion, tried to get in, and I've been at Sacred Heart. I think I've taught every grade level between there. And I finally ended up at kindergarten. That was my big dream. So I appreciate the chance for you, or the opportunity that you gave me to be at that position for such a long time. It was a true heart joy, seeing my little ones grow and go beyond. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you all. And I will offer you the opportunity to stay for this wonderful board meeting this evening, but if you so desire, you would like to leave early, you're more than welcome to. We do, yeah. Rhonda's gonna take a snapshot of the four of you, if you don't mind out here.
I switched your clocks in the boxes, so have fun with that.
Oh, I will. Thanks. Come see me sometime.
Good luck down there.
Oh, I will.
Yes.
I will.
Doors.
Good luck. How about the, Ken's, to do this kind of bigger?
Oh, my gosh, I'm so proud of her.
Good.
Bye, neighbor. I'll see you. Monday's the last day. But, the 28th.
You
We have just a week left to plan.
Oh, my goodness.
Bye, ladies. Take care.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye-bye now. Be safe.
I'll see you. See you, Dave. See you, David. Have a good one.
Rhonda Hines, I want you to know.
Okay. A lot of good people there. Moving on to the consideration of the minutes, the regular session, meeting and the addendum for the May 17th, 2021 meeting. I entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as presented for the regular session on May 17th, 2021. Any further discussion? Hearing no discussion, all members in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. Moving on, finance and vouchers for the month of June.
I'd move to approve vouchers 103-207 through 106-426.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve vouchers 103-207 through 106-426. There's a lot of them this month.
Yep.
And some big ones.
Yep.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all members in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. Next item is a very lengthy,
The annual.
very lengthy personnel report. Mr. Chapman?
Members of the board, the June personnel report is presented to you this evening for your approval. As is typical for June, it's rather lengthy, and as we have included ECA positions for the upcoming school year. With that, I would like to highlight a few of the following. With regard to resignations, we have a couple of teachers. Jessica Harvey submitted her letter of resignation effective the end of the school year at Central Elementary. Amanda Wrights, South Main Middle School, High School choir teacher, her resignation effective the end of the school year. And Angela Dencher, South Main High School math teacher, her resignation for the end of the school year. Also, you have classified staff members, Amy Heyer and Sarah Edwards, secretaries at the high school, both submitted their letters of retirement. Amy serving 17 years here at the high school, in the school corporation, and Sarah 27 years. We also have recommendations of certified staff, Tina Waniger, a voluntary transfer from the high school to the middle school graphic arts. At the high school to the business and information technology position at the middle school. Amber Thompson, middle school English teacher. Alexia Golden, Central Elementary 4th grade teacher. Jessie Swainer, Central Elementary 1st grade teacher. Keisha Miles, Van Dyne Elementary EBD teacher. And Jennifer Chrisman, South Main High School and WRCT, 4/7 contract for graphic design teacher at the high school. Also on classified staff, Marissa Strayer, South Main High School secretary position, and Jessica Wheeler, South Main High School secretary position. We have many pages of ECA assignments, 81 total personnel items for your consideration this evening. We ask your approval this evening.
So moved.
I'll second.
A motion and a second to approve June's personnel report as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing no discussion, all members in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. Moving on to the discussion portion of tonight's agenda. Mrs. Beaver with curriculum update.
You have in front of you curriculum instruction and assessment update. And I won't go over any other section of that at this time with you, except for the item that will be voted on at the end of the meeting, the curriculum adoption. As you know from when I explained at the last meeting, ESSER 2 and 3 funds are allowing us to have resources like we didn't anticipate. So we had to act quickly, and it was a little, it felt a little hasty, but it was certainly meaningful. It's not the way curriculum development is meant to take place. It should take place in more of a longitudinal routine pattern where each year there's a different focus per content area, whether it's development, revision, review of data, implementation, etc. But we are moving back to that structure. So if you look at page 3 of this packet, the recommendation that I have at this time, our committees, we had 26 teachers, comprised 9 different committees, and teachers, of those 26 teachers, several of them served on multiple committees, meaning social studies, math, and English language arts. The content area that we are ready to present and recommend for your approval is English language arts. We are holding on math because the elementary contract still has one more year with the program that was already adopted a few years ago. So there's one more year, so that would be in best interest financially to just hold and spend this coming school year in true and proper formal curriculum development review. And that is in line with the state's rotation of math is up next. In light of like companies sending preview materials and updating the standards and that. So that's a good thing. 6-8 math, so middle school math would like to pilot for 1 year a program that they have, that they feel like is a good fit, but a pilot will give us a non-commitment sampling to see if it is truly something to commit to. And like I said, that year-long process will allow us to give it a healthy review. So that's Hook Mifflin into math. And then 9-12 will not be adopting this year, but I am meeting with the math teachers in late June to review those materials for a possible pilot. So the good news is they do know that that we have the resources and the plans to provide them with some evidence-based curriculum in their content area of math. Social studies, this is the statewide adoption year, but all year long, as invites to textbook caravans and samples arrived in our buildings, we had to look away because historically our teachers at the high school level especially, well secondary level meaning 6 through 12, curate their own content based on high priority standards and some from former adoptions that they still use, that they find value in, matching with the standards alignment. But it is time to shore up that and we will recommend social studies resources at the July meeting. We'll be ready for that. So for this evening, English language arts, I would like to recommend, based on the vote from the 3 different committees, K-5 English Committee, 6-8 Committee, and 9-12, Amplify CKLA. CKLA standing for Core Knowledge Language Arts. That's a blended digital and print package just for 3 years. The reason 3 years, because then that puts us back in that rotation that is proper and healthy, where it's one content area at a time for healthy revision in that cycle. So a different content area is at a different phase in the curriculum review process. And then at 6-8, Amplify ELA, which is the same company, and the reassuring part about that is it is a K through 8, what South Vermillion then will have, which will put us in a unique position in this part of the state. We'll have a K through 8 scope and sequence. And that will be blended in digital print package for 3 years as well. I met with each of the 9 through 12 English teachers, and they felt that they have worked hard to self-curate their own curriculum based on their high priority and identified standards. And they don't wish to adopt a core curriculum at that time, because that would mean then that I would expect and we would expect them to abandon what they've created and worked hard to self-curate and go strictly with that core curriculum. What I am recommending, however, from the vote from the English Language Arts Committee is that we focus on the 4 new courses in the English Language Arts Department. I should say restored, not new, because they have been electives that were in place in the past. So etymology, speech 1 and 2, which has the potential for dual credit, and film literature and creative writing. So these courses need resources. So what I would like to recommend is the supplemental resources, meaning these are singletons. This is one teacher teaching film lit, one teacher teaching etymology, and I've met one-on-one with each of them, and we've reviewed what other high school programs use for their resources, and we discussed what we felt was best aligned with the course description from the Indiana Course Guide.
So I'm assuming speech 1 and 2 is like a semester.
And that's Mr. Lotz.
And that's the dual credit, speech
Um,
1 and 2? was
Yeah,
dual
so,
credit
yeah.
possible.
And do we have someone qualified? I mean, we wouldn't be offering for dual credit if we didn't do it.
Correct, correct. So,
Who
so
is
it
that?
has the potential, John Lotz is the one that will be teaching speech 1 and
Okay,
speech 2.
yeah.
I can't speak to its readiness for the dual credit status at this point. Mr. Schimmel probably could do a better job of that, but, I can.
How's that determined?
So in the state of Indiana, at this time, the teacher has to have a master's degree in that content area. So, for example, my master's degree is in elementary ed and K-12 curriculum. I am not certified to teach a high school dual credit course because I don't have a master's degree in English. I would have to have a master's degree in English. I will have to defer, am I speaking correctly, Jackie?
Sort of,
Because
yes.
it's your content area, sort of.
Yes. So what we've been told by Ivy Tech is that you can they'll do a conditional approval after review of transcripts if they feel that you've had enough coursework in the content area. If you do not meet that threshold determined by their English department, the head of their English department, then they recommend courses that you can take in order to reach conditional approval. Once you're given conditional approval, then you're required to enroll in a master's, course or curriculum cohort. It can be for something other than English. However, in addition, like for example, if I wanted to go and get my master's in counseling, guidance counseling, I could do that and they would approve me to do that. However, I would have to take 18 additional English hours at the master's level in order to be fully approved once I matriculated. Lots of hoops to jump.
How long is the preliminary approval good for, just a school year?
As long as you're enrolled,
Oh,
Making progress.
right, yeah, making progress.
one
And
step
Mr.
at a time.
Yeah, Mr. Lotz then is he at that level or?
Well, I would have to
Oh,
let
that's
him
what
know.
you had to do
Yeah.
defer, okay.
Yeah, and he's been in
I understand.
communication with the actual course materials used for speech 1 and 2, communications 1 and 2 is what Ivy Tech calls it.
Jackie may know.
Yeah,
Yes, he
So,
is. He
they
has an
won't let him use
MBA.
those books.
Yeah, he has an MBA, and so they've given him conditional approval. And I believe he also has some master's level communication courses too. So, and then he has to take 18 credit hours in speech and communications at master's level. So
Isn't
he is
that pretty
doing-
much true across
Yeah.
any discipline? No, okay.
Thank
Very
you.
good.
So the enrollment is good in those 4 new courses, restored courses. And
Oh, yeah?
teachers are super excited, yeah. They're super excited. Etymology has great reciprocity in any field.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, if
So-
you're,
Yeah, I heard about
if
it.
you're gonna take the SAT, my goodness, I don't know how you take it without it.
Okay. Any questions?
No reservations at all about the 1-year pilot in math? I mean, as far as, if you don't go that way, I mean, if you decide at the end of the pilot not to go that way.
Right, so in the absence of a pilot, the middle school math teachers just use what they've already curated for their lessons and just spend the year reviewing. And that could be one that they choose to review as well. It clearly is the top contender for them. When I discussed this with Matt Sebastian and Jeff Sellers, Jeff just jumped right back and said, thank you, because this gives us time to dig in and we're not committed. So it's one thing to watch a product
Yeah,
demo,
that's good.
certainly is another thing to live it.
Yeah, that's a good approach.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank you.
you're welcome.
Any other questions, Melanie? Thank you. Okay, return to school.
Our pet project.
All right, Mr. Chapman, you're up.
Well, members of the board, as you know, last year's reentry plan, we all believe worked very effectively throughout the course of the school year, knowing full well that it was a fluid reentry plan and that we would have to make revisions along the way, which we did. Luckily for us, those revisions were positive in nature, not negative. We had our biggest spike during November, December, early January, and from that point on, our numbers dropped significantly. And because of that, and some other things, working with the health department locally, we feel very good about our return to school plan moving forward. As I mentioned last board meeting, there's some things that we were looking at, and as part of the ESSER 3 federal funding, we have to have our plan as a matter of record in a board meeting. So that's what we're going to do tonight. I'm going to give you a little presentation at this point in time, and then later on in the meeting ask your approval, with the understanding that this plan too may change at any given time due to whatever circumstances come to play. I don't think it's any great secret to anybody that the 2021 school year was very stressful for our students, our staff, our community, all of us. And the 2021 reentry plan served its purpose well. The easing of the COVID-19 related mandates from the governor has produced us with options that were not available during this past school year, and as a result, along with outstanding cooperation of our students, staff, parents, and our community, it's our desire to return to the school this fall to a traditional school setting as much as possible, with the understanding that should circumstances warrant, safety precautions already established will be reinstated. It is important to realize that some COVID-19 concerns and issues still remain, and we are keeping track of that as the days go. But in the end, we feel we have a pretty good plan for our school year to return to normalcy. As you know, our reentry plan is on the website, and we've provided updates throughout the school year that included mandates at the local, state, and federal levels, from the CDC to the Department of Health to the governor's executive orders. All those things came into play as we went through the school year. As we successfully navigated through the 2021 school year, it is our desire to return, as I said, to a traditional school setting as much as possible, with the understanding that we make the necessary changes should they warrant. And if, heaven forbid, if we have to reinstate the 2021 reentry plan. Some of the things that we will maintain during this school year, so that everybody is aware, current practices and precautionary measures. We're still going to have signage. There's some signage that needs to be updated, obviously, regarding fully vaccinated versus unvaccinated individuals. Hand sanitizers, we're still going to have the hand sanitizers in the buildings and on the buses. We're still going to maintain that enhanced cleaning and disinfecting of our school buildings. We need to do an exemplary job of making sure our air filtration inspections and cleaning are up to snuff, no pun intended. Face coverings in all buildings will be optional at this point in time. We're following the trend of the CDC and all other areas. One thing that we need to make sure that people understand, families, students, parents, and such, at this time, because the buses are means of transportation, we have to maintain the masks on those. So those are still going to be required. That may change by the time school year starts, but as it stands today, school bus transportation is included in mass transportation, and all mass transportation, airports, terminals, all that kind of stuff. Buses, masks are required. And we will continue to maintain the daily cleaning and disinfecting of our school buses. Continuing on, one, maintaining the practice of 3 feet of social distancing in the classrooms. As much as possible, seating for students facing in the same direction will be the norm. Utilizing assigned seating in all classrooms and on school buses to help us with any possible outbreaks. We still want to limit to some extent visitors in our schools and classrooms, limiting in-person fundraising events. The schools have done a great job of having their fundraising efforts online and in such fashion that there weren't close contacts with people, and so we're going to continue that. These are the kinds of things that may ease up as the school year goes on if all things go in a positive direction. Hosting large community events will continue to be at the discretion of the superintendent's office following guidance from the local health department as well as state and federal mandates. There's one event that's coming up that I can speak to, and that's the Little Italy Queen of Grapes pageant. We're still going to hold that, but as Jackie's on the board, we talked limiting the attendance at that and making sure that all precautionary measures are in place. I think Jackie, you said maybe 100 people showed up.
At the very most.
So
Is that in the auditorium?
yeah.
Yes.
So we feel pretty comfortable with that, and I know I've talked with Vicki about her dance recital later in September. We should be in pretty good shape by then as well. So those are things that we're looking at as far as community events.
Can I just,
Sure.
I just have one thing I'd like to ask to you folks. You know, with the seating of students facing in the same direction in classrooms, I understand it, but what do you do if you want to do some group work? I mean, are you handling that by just requiring the kids to wear masks when they're closed, or?
I made a mental note to ask that question myself, because in the past, we still did, like, especially with students with IEPs and things like that, they just had to be masked at all times. So the masks are optional, if that's something for small group, we'll still have. These are your questions going through my mind.
Yeah, and that's perfectly acceptable based on the conversations I've had with the local health department and some of the FAQs that we've been getting from the Department of Health. If you're not going to be seating them in the 5 rows of 6 all facing forward, if you're going to do it in pods and all that, masks are recommended. And I will add that we still have an overabundance of disposable masks. I think they're being stored in the transportation department right now. I mean, we got, and I literally got a truckload of disposable masks this spring.
It's so important to use that activity now and then, and you'd want to figure out some way to do that, so
Sure.
I'm sure you all thought about that.
And the last bullet point there, there may be individual school circumstances that may dictate additional measures beyond this plan, and that's something that we'll, if that comes up, we'll address it. Again, I can't emphasize enough that this plan is what it is today, and that at any point in time that, and I'll refer to the Delta variant right now because that's the one that's getting the most publicity, if you will. We may have to go into revisions, and we may have to backtrack or go into a more restrictive environment if that is the case. One thing I want to make sure is that the school board will be kept abreast of any changes, and we'll have the opportunity to address those changes at the next scheduled board meeting after those changes are implemented. I forgot to mention on that first bullet point, the school board has allowed the superintendent the flexibility to make changes as needed, as long as we're kept in the loop, obviously. And any mandates from the local, state, and federal agencies will be followed to the greatest extent possible, and recommendations from these agencies will be considered at all times. Not necessarily do we have to follow the recommendations, but if they're within reason, yes. And it's very important that what we went through this school year and how we managed and how we got through to the end is much different than what you hear on the news and what you see in the national newspapers and all that, because our community, our school system, our students, our staff, they took the high road with this, and the numbers prove it. We did an exceptional job of taking care of business, enabling us for the most part to stay in school this past school year when other school districts were out. And the interesting thing for me is listening to the national news and hearing that some schools around the country were just going back to school in the middle of May for the first time, when we've been in school the whole year. So I feel very, very good about where we've been and how we've done things. The governor's latest executive order 2115 ends midnight June 30th, effective July 1. Things with regard to vaccinated versus unvaccinated individuals becomes a local decision. But there has been some recommendations from the United States Department of Health for things for kindergarten through 6th grade classrooms and for 7th through 12th grade. That's because of the 12-year-old and up issue with getting vaccinated. School transportation, again, masks currently required on school buses per federal requirement. So a lot of things are going to be changing here in a week or so.
Status quo on food service?
That's something that we're still working on. We haven't really made a knockdown, drag-out decision on how we're gonna handle food service, because we need to make sure that we can fund it well, because what we've done is gone paper and haven't been using the reusable trays and utensils and all that. I've talked with a couple of the principals. We may start the school year out like we finished and see where it goes from there, just to be on the safe side. We may have lunches in the classrooms at the start of the school year. But again, it depends on where we are at that given time. When we meet again in July, I'll have a better idea where we're at and what we can do with the food service program.
When does the food service is a good example, but do our mitigation efforts, can we continue to receive federal funds for that next
So
school?
far, yeah.
Even in the next school year?
I think it is for next year, yeah.
I mean,
I think it was
that'll certainly help
Yeah.
answer part of the question
Sure.
there, right?
I believe we have the entire, if I'm not mistaken, we have the entire this upcoming school year through that, so. Mike is shaking his head yes, so I guess it might. With regard to unvaccinated staff and students, one thing I should have put an asterisk here, because we're not asking people who's vaccinated, who's not. That's a privacy issue that needs to be adhered to. But the unvaccinated staff and students, they're recommended to wear their masks indoors. It's kind of like going to any place in public anymore, because the restaurants and all that, they say if you're masked, you don't have to wear, or if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. If you're not vaccinated, you have to.
Everybody must be vaccinated.
It was, yeah. So, and that's kind of the same situation we're gonna be in. So it's kind of the honor system.
Because, when I watched it, saw the decision tree there,
Mhm.
I live in a county where roughly 35% of the people
Sure.
are vaccinated. So, I mean, I can just, I don't know, we've learned so much about tracking, tracing, responding, and watching
Right.
things very closely. So, I just, thought about that right away. That's.
Well, and it goes back to that thing we've been saying from the very beginning, that our schools are the safest place for those kids to be.
Sure.
And the numbers kind of show that. Again, the 3 foot, if you're not vaccinated, try to stay 6 feet. Well, these are recommendations from the state, and I put it on here just because they're the recommendations from the state. But in reality, who's going to walk 6 feet from somebody who's going to walk 3 feet from somebody? And it's just one of those things that we have to be very cautious about. The one thing that I think is important is the quarantine issue. If they're identified as having had a close contact with someone who tested positive, if you're unvaccinated, you need to quarantine. If you're vaccinated, you don't have to.
But in that case, they're gonna have to show the school, or how you gonna do
We're
it?
gonna have, yeah, we're gonna have to, yeah.
Through the Board of Health, maybe.
And I think that's where we work with the county health department.
I would assume somebody be motivated to show it in that case.
I would hope so. I would hope so. I mean, it's somewhat contradictory to what,
We should certainly figure out how we wanna handle
Yeah.
that, because that will.
I will be
Come
in
up.
on a Zoom session Friday with a lot of superintendents around the state this is the very thing we're gonna be talking about. All these, this is what the state recommends, but in reality, what is it we can do, what can we do, what can't we do? So, we'll know more on Friday. Again, with tracking isolated positive cases, close contacts, quarantine, it's if you are, you know. If you're not, you do, kind of thing. So, we're really not pushing the close contacts anymore because of the vaccination rates. Quarantine is the same way. Close contacts don't have to quarantine. Unvaccinated individuals would have to, and that's if they're asymptomatic, they can return within 8 days. And these are things that we had at the end of the school year. Day 11, they can come back with precautions, or day 15 without testing or precautions. So, the one thing I do want to add that's not on the slideshow there is working with the health department, members of the board. I think you all have that at your place. July 12th, we're going to host a drive-through clinic, COVID clinic for all students 12 and up that wish to get vaccinated, and any staff member that wishes to get vaccinated who is not vaccinated. That would be from 9 to 12 on July 12th. The Vermilion County Health Department will be setting up a tent right outside on the curb here, and come in, get your shot, and come back in 3 weeks on August 2nd, get your second shot, so you'll be fully vaccinated for the start of school. We're gonna promote the living daylights out of it as much as we can. We're not forcing anybody, there's no mandates whatsoever for that. However, we are encouraging any and all students and staff who are not vaccinated to please do so. It will be the Pfizer vaccine, and we hope to get as many students there as possible. And one final note, we got word this afternoon, we submitted that return to school plan to the health department. Dr. Albright gave us a seal of approval. So, I'll entertain any other questions. I'll be glad when we can talk about something else.
Yeah, well, one is that, that's statewide, we were like at around 200 cases a day right now.
Yeah.
So, well, they said CDC guidance is when you fall below 50 cases per 100,000?
Yeah.
That's when mitigations, so we're close to that.
We're close.
That right now, right? If we can hold that.
It'd be good. I'm hopeful. I think we're, nothing from summer school yet that I'm aware of from our folks, so that's good. I checked with Wendy Farley today, and things look good. Community-wise, they just wish they'd get more people in to get vaccinated, but
Good.
outside of that, our numbers in our community look very, very good.
Well, I hope things stay positively to where we can relook at the bus situation.
Yeah,
going
I do
forward,
too.
Because I can tell you, although it'll be a different scale and different situation, but, I've witnessed all the stuff you've been hearing about on the media firsthand with flying and masks. I mean, what those airline crews are going through right now
Oh, it's
are
crazy.
absolutely incredible.
Yeah, we witnessed it last week too.
But I've seen some grown adults pull some
Yeah.
throw some amazing fits.
Yeah, yeah, we witnessed that last week, so. But yeah, I'm pretty confident that by the time school starts, that'll be relaxed as well, so hopeful.
Andy Star, Sunday, I don't know if anyone read that, had a great article about that very topic, about how different the expectations are in different places and, different countries, and, it was just a mess trying to, in fact, if people give up, it just.
Well, COVID didn't exist in Florida.
Yeah.
If you haven't figured that out.
Yeah, right.
We're at a wedding, that was over the weekend.
It was interesting.
Okay. Well, moving on, to the handbooks, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, you have in your packets handbooks. I'll just kind of lump them all together if that's okay with the board. You have the elementary handbook, you have the middle school handbook, high school handbook for students. You also have a revised student iPad policy document. You also have the South Vermillion High School student athlete and coaches handbooks. These are all first reading. There's been some revisions on all those documents, so I would ask that the board please review those and let me know if you have any questions. We'll bring it back next month for approval.
I think, most of them, the changes were marked, right?
Yes.
I really,
Yeah.
I know we talked about that in the
Appreciate
past, and
yeah.
that's very much appreciated. But yeah, this is first reading, so unless there's anything that a board member wants to ask tonight, we'd ask you to bring your comments to, next month, when we would, incorporate your comments and move towards adoption. Okay, moving on to the decision portion of tonight's agenda. First item, recommendation to modify the 2021-2022 academic calendar.
Members of the board, with the increased efforts to assure that we are focusing on the social and emotional impact on our staff, I'm requesting the board approve a modification to the academic calendar to include 4 scheduled e-learning days to be spread out throughout the school year. These days will be broken up into 2 phases. The morning will focus on instruction and assignments for the students, with the teachers holding class and/or office hours. And in the afternoon, we will focus on social emotional aspects for our staff. This is also a component of our ESSER 3 federal grant that we are in needing to address. These 4 days will be divided up 1 per grading period. We have September 1st, November 10th, February 2nd, and April 13th. And we ask your approval of this modification to the 21-22 academic calendar this evening. Entertain any questions.
So you would utilize, you'd utilize these again how? And
Morning will be, morning from 8 to noon, whatever, would be for instruction and assignments for the students. Teachers will be working with the kids. The afternoon will be a professional development focusing on social emotional aspects of the jobs. Rodney Idlewine is gonna be in charge of working that aspect for us, coordinating the PDs. And obviously, like, one would be the suicide prevention aspect of it. Other possible topics, I forget off the top of my head. Did you have any others that he said?
So just definitely making sure we're doing the required training, like
Right.
suicide is required, and also being aware of student mental health signals and signs in the classroom, teachers knowing how to respond to that before it becomes a problem, making sure we're aware of students with certain kinds of stress and anxiety and helping them.
We did a mass suicide prevention training 3 years ago, 2 years ago? Maybe it's 2 years ago. So this is, this would be something that we really need to update ourselves on, refresher course, if you will, and some other things as far, not only for the teachers, but for the students. I mean, we have, the focus, we really want to make sure our kids are healthy emotionally, but we need to make sure our staff is healthy emotionally as well, and that's a big aspect of it.
How do we handle parent conferences?
That's gonna be on the October 6th.
Okay.
That's still on there.
Okay.
any other questions? Otherwise, I entertain a motion.
So
Second.
Motion is second to approve the modifications for the 2021-2022 academic calendar as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all members in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. Next item, recommendation to approve the substitute teacher rates effective 2021-2022 school year. Mr. Chadden?
Members of the board, in an effort to stay current with substitute teacher rates and to ensure we have an adequate substitute pool, it is requested this evening to update our substitute teacher daily rates. We have looked at this closely. In fact, there was in the school business officials, thread, there was a lot of discussion and a lot of input into this very topic, and schools throughout the state are looking at what they need to do and how they need to do it. And we took a lot of input into what our recommendation is this evening. We decided to go in 3 tiers. Tier 1 is a high school graduate who is currently enrolled in college with a minimum of 60 credit hours. That will still be at $70 a day, only because they haven't got that degree yet. Tier 2 would be a bachelor's degree that is not an educational degree. Having a sub-license would be $80 a day, and Tier 3 would be an individual with a bachelor's degree with a valid teacher's license, and that would be $90 a day. We believe this would be a more attractive approach to secure substitutes moving forward, and we request your approval this evening.
So moved.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to approve the substitute teacher rates, modifications, updates, however you want to put it, as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all members in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries.
We'll incorporate the increases into the substitute teacher handbook, and I think that's the only change that would be made, so.
Yeah. Cheryl's, she's eligible for that highest
I'm
rate.
telling you.
Social Security's paying pretty good too.
Uh,
And I'm not doing anything.
They come get your money.
Just that check, just deposit it in there.
And no alarm.
Just saying like it is.
Being a grandma's cool, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I just babysat today for 7 hours, so, you know.
Good deal. The next item is recommendation to approve an annual public officials bonds for all treasurers, principals, effective July 1, 2021 to June 30th, 2022. We do this every year. Very ministerial.
Annual request, we ask your approval.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the annual public officials bonds for all treasurers and principals, effective July 1, 2021 to June 30th, 2022. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all members in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. Next item, recommendation to approve the corporation's participation in Title I and High Ability Program for the 2021-2022 school year. Mr. Chapman?
Again, this is an annual request that must be recorded in board minutes. We ask your approval this evening.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the corporation's participation in Title I and the High Ability Program for this 2021-2022 school year. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All members in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. Next item, recommendation to increase credit card fees by 50 cents a transaction effective July 1. Mr. Chapman?
Members of the board, after review of the collection process, we feel it is necessary to raise the cost of credit card transaction fees. This past school year, the schools paid twice as much as the parents regarding these fees, which has created a burden on the schools. And we ask that this be approved this evening, as this increase still keeps us well below the limit ceiling, if you will, that the State Board of Accounts allows.
And is a transaction like paying book rental and then putting money in the lunch account?
Anytime they use a
Time you
credit card.
swipe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it would increase us to $1.50, and the limit is $3 per transaction. That's the highest you can go. Ours would go up to $1.50, right? Yep. I think it's here somewhere. Yes, $1.50.
150, we're going to 2. Is that what we're saying? Just to make sure we're all on the same
This is
page.
currently $1, so it will.
Yeah.
It's a
We're going to
$1.50.
$1.50.
We're going to
Got
$1.50, yes.
So if we're at $1, going to $1.50.
And they have an option then if they wanna come in and pay cash.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They can always do that.
Yeah, this is just if they want to use a credit card.
And a lot of that is online, I take it.
It's all online. Yeah. Save you gas.
Yeah.
I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Got a second out there?
Second.
I got a motion and a second to increase credit card fees by 50 cents a transaction to a total of $1.50, effective July 1, 2021. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all members in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. Next item, recommendation to accept donations.
Members of the board, we ask your approval this evening for donations at South Lorraine High School, one from the Gene Haas Foundation for the Wildcat Manufacturing class of $8,000, and a donation from Ryan Luce State Farm Insurance for the boys golf team. We ask your approval this evening.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the donations to the high school as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all members in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. Next item, recommendation to appoint Donna Wilson to the Clinton Public Library Board of Trustees effective July 1, 2021.
Members of the board, Donna has agreed to serve a 4-year term that has been vacated by Mary Ann Maher. She has chosen to leave that post, if you will, and we ask your approval for Donna's appointment this evening.
Should be good at.
So moved.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to appoint Donna Wilson to the Clinton Public Library Board of Trustees effective July 1, 2021. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all members in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. Before we conclude, I'll draw your attention now to the 2 addenda items that we added. And the first item is a recommendation to approve the 2021-2022 return to school plan, as we do have to show that in the minutes to submit for our federal funding.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Ginger.
I have a motion and a second to approve the 2021-2022 return to school plan as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing no discussion, all members in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. Last item this evening is recommendation to approve the K-8 core English language arts, I can't even talk today, curriculum resources, and 9 through 12 supplemental curricular resources.
So moved.
Second.
So moved, we're following Mrs. Beaver's recommendation. Or that's what we're referring to. Just for clarity. Any further discussion? Yes.
Jenny, I just wanted to ask one thing. I looked through this report. Is there anything that you want to mention that is going well, not going well?
As far as summer work,
Yeah.
we're at the mercy of a slow boat from China bringing our iPads to us. We really wanted to get those going in June, and those have not shipped yet. We're gonna have some student workers help us get those set up over the summer, just because of the sheer volume of things that we're working on. We're not gonna be able to get that accomplished, so it's probably looking like July that we're going to be setting up all of those devices. Jason's big project for the summer is replacing all of our network switches in the district. I don't know that that will get done over the summer because that was an E-rate purchase, so that means that's a July 1. We cannot make that purchase until July 1 because E-rate goes from July 1st to June 30th. So all of those switches will get an 80% discount. We might not get those till mid-July, so replacing everything in the district, it might be something that stretches into fall. There's just so much that's changing over the summer. It's kind of a domino effect. Summer school has pushed us back a long way, but it's, we'll get there.
How slow is that boat?
I don't even know if the boat is left.
I just read of some big boondoggle at sea. I'm not sure if that's the boat we're talking about.
We had ordered 70.
Yeah, I can imagine.
We ordered 70 iPad cases for teacher iPads to combine with 80 that we already had, and the FedEx truck showed up mover, to get it off the truck here, and I said, we only have 70, it shouldn't be but a few small boxes. They shipped 1,700.
Oh,
And
Money.
wanted us to take them and then ship them back, and I refused them, so we had an issue with that as well. So it's, a lot of purchasing going on right now, it's going crazy.
Yeah, thank you. And the middle school projects, the roof.
I was gonna touch on that, yeah.
alright. Back to, I got a motion second on the table, so
Oh, we
let's get a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. There we go. Got that minor point out of the way. All right, that concludes our agenda for this evening, so we will conclude first, second call, or last call for citizens, period. If anybody in the audience would like to address the board, now be your last chance to do so. Everybody's jumping up and ready to make comments. We'll close citizens' comment, conclude first with Mr. Chapman's comment, then board member comment, and we'll be done. Mr. Chapman.
Cool. First of all, Cheryl, thanks for hanging out with us the rest of the board meeting.
Just like old times.
Yeah.
Third Monday.
Huh?
Third Monday every month.
This is the final one.
Well, we do appreciate your time here and glad to see you. I don't think we've seen you for a year.
No,
Yeah.
no.
You know, with all the retirees, we wish them all the best and a happy and long retirement and enjoy the grandbabies and all. With that, I'm very excited about the new staff we have coming on board. I feel very, very confident in the additions, and I'm looking forward to having a back-to-school breakfast meeting again this year. We'll definitely have that. It's going to be at the high school this year with all the work going on at the middle school.
Buffet or boxed?
Yeah. It might be bring your own. We're gonna try something. We're not sure how it's gonna work out yet, but the middle school projects, the roofing project, slowly but surely getting done. I think they're telling us now the end of July. Angie, is that about right? Yeah. And the HVAC project, I'm telling you what, those guys are moving lights out. Angie and I got a little bit of a tour today, and amazing how much they've done in such a short amount of time so far. They're eyeballing the end of July. Some area, hopefully, the office area in that wing will be ready to go at the end of July, with the rest of the building probably shortly right after August. So don't go in the middle school anytime soon. It looks like a war zone, but they assure us it will look great when it's finished. So.
The looks of this stuff they dragged out
Oh,
on
my
the lot,
goodness.
everything's a mess in there.
They've taken everything out but the kitchen sink.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But the interesting part Angie and I were talking about today was the fact that when you go in that main mechanical room, I didn't realize how big that room is. They've got the stuff that they took out rather quickly and the stuff they're putting in. I think Angie's found a new storage room.
With the change in technology.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. It's really interesting, so. And then the other fun.
I think they spoke about that in the presentation.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. The other fun thing I'd like to let you know about is I met with a consultant from Neola last week, and I'll have the next round of updates for you next month, including Title IX, the new updated policies that are about, just for Title IX, about that thick. So we're going to be focusing on that here in the next few days. So a lot going on. It's been a busy summer. Hopefully everybody gets a little chance to take a break before we get ramped up again here at the end of July. So that's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chapman. Mrs. Crowder.
Well, I just want to echo congratulations to all of our retirees and enjoy retirement. You'll find out that you wonder where your time's gone because you're so busy. Hopefully with the grandbaby. That's about it.
Thank you. Mr. West?
I'll echo, we're gonna miss the retirees. A lot of gifted people there. They've served this community well. Gotta feel good when you see these children wherever you're at, and you know that. That was one of yours, you know, but,
Wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her.
there you go, there you go. So, we lost a lot of talent, good quality people. You've hired a lot of good quality people if the paperwork is correct that you've given us. They look good on paper, so, yeah, excited to see those folks get in here and hopefully, they'll spend 25, 30, 42 years with us, so, awesome. I keep wanting to send a text to Jerry, but I let that slide from time to time. The band sounds awesome.
Yeah,
They're really sounding good,
Yeah.
so
yeah, good.
really excited about their opportunities at the state fair. So, I'm good.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hawkins.
You know, hardly any words fit when this many people retire with that many years in this corporation and in teaching, period. Because, you think yourself, and my own retirement, when you've seen so many people come and go, and kids you didn't think could do well, did great, and so there's hardly anything to say any more than what's been said, but I really appreciate all the time that the retirees spent here in this corporation and choosing to stay here as long as you did. It's been to our benefit. And I know how fast summers go when you're trying to cram things in. You need to get in, and it all goes pretty quickly, but I do appreciate all the work that's been done on the reopening plan and kind of putting things in place. And just so much was learned last year about, and we all learned about this thing, and to be able to put the fine point to it that you have, I think is great, and I appreciate that. So I'm good.
All right. Well, ditto. It's good to see everybody here tonight. Apologize for being a few minutes late. But got a traffic jam in Indianapolis. Anyway, it's a pleasure to see you all. Everybody have a safe summer, or remainder of the summer. Anybody else got anything else? Otherwise, I entertain a motion.
Second.
Thank you all for coming. We stand adjourned.
Aw.